Welcome all to Dominant Mets Nation. Folks, here's a thought. David Stearns, the president slash general manager of the New York Mets, he's received a lot of criticism about his so-called pitching staff and it not being up to par, especially after not making any big splash after losing Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea. Here's the thought. Maybe David Stearns has a clue. Maybe David Stearns, a guy who's making $11 million, a guy who's a fairly young but very successful president, has a very good clue. Good clue. And what do I mean? What do I mean? I know the doubters are still probably thinking like, the pitching staff is mediocre. And on the surface, yes, the pitching staff, if you go to a lot of MLB rankings, so to say, they're ranked about 15 to 20 overall. They're not in the top 10. They're not in the top 5. Unlike the offense is a top 3 offense. The bullpen looks pretty good as well, but the starting rotation doesn't look good. Oh, no. All right, folks. What I'm alluding to is I don't think we're really looking at the full picture. I really don't. I really don't. And the full picture is I'm not saying it's starting to become clear, but I'm starting to see the actual plan. And I'm starting to see why David Stearns isn't willing to invest a large amount of money on starting pitchers right now. Okay, folks. All right, we're going to get into that. But as always, before we get started, smash that like button. Subscribe if you find yourself returning. Again, it helps out the channel grow. So I would thank you if you could please subscribe. And I want to thank all the new subscribers and to our subscribers who have been supporting the channel for years. Thank you as always, and I always appreciate your support. Any comments, drop them below. You know I'll try my very best to get to everyone. Okay, so what I mean by David Stearns having a plan, having a clue. Quite simple. In the last couple days, we have seen the Mets' young pitchers really step up. None bigger example than Blade Tidwell throwing an immaculate inning and pitching 2 very solid, very impressive innings. This performance was followed up, a day before that. Brandon Sproat pitched very impressive himself. And now you put these performances on top of Max Kranick looking very good, looking very sharp early on. Clay Holmes looking very good, looking sharp early on. And I know it's different in spring training, but what you want to do is you want to dissect these performances because they mean something. It shows the Mets' philosophy. The Mets' philosophy this spring has been extremely evident. Attack, attack, attack. And you see these pitchers, Blade Tidwell, these pitchers have good stuff. Very good stuff. Sproat, these guys can touch 100 miles per hour. Max Kranick, 97. I mean, you got some fireballers here. 20 years ago, you're lucky if 2 or 3 guys on your team can touch the upper 90s. Now you have almost your whole bullpen slash, starters getting in the mid 90s. And touching upper 90s, half of them can touch the upper 90s. So you got a lot of guys with good stuff. But, you see Blade Tidwell, hitting that immaculate inning. And one would think, okay, what does that mean? Well, just for all of you who aren't familiar, and I know a lot of us are very familiar with the game, but immaculate inning is when a pitcher strikes out 3 batters in an inning, throwing the minimal possible pitches. So that means 3 batters, 9 pitches. And, how many times has that happened in the major leagues? So regular season, it's happened 115 times since 1880, 1880s. So, folks, That's not a lot. It's not a lot. And if you break it down by era from 1876 to 1988, there were only 30 immaculate innings, 30 in 114 seasons. So there have been a little more as of late to get that total number up to 115. But folks, this does not happen very often. And we're gonna go over Blade Tidwell's immaculate inning, but just if you're looking at history, I believe only one New York Met in all of MLB history has thrown an immaculate inning. Now, I'll let you think, and if you don't know the answer, think about which New York Met. If you know the answer, and I'm giving you thinking. If you want to pause the video, only one New York Met in all of Mets history has thrown an immaculate inning. So if you like to kind of think of it, if you're coming up with answers, now I'm going to say it. And that New York Met is none other than David Cone, August 30th, 1991, against the Cincinnati Reds. And from Cincinnati Reds. All right, folks. Actually, I made a mistake. Update to that. Actually, another guy that I wrote down, I just missed it. Nolan Ryan threw it in 1968. Scratch that, folks. Two Mets in history, and Nolan Ryan threw it in 1968 against the LA Dodgers. So you know what? It's not a crazy amount. Two Mets in all of history. There have been a couple more times that the Mets have been the victims of the immaculate inning. I believe the last time the Mets were thrown an immaculate inning was 2021. Chad Green was the pitcher for the New York Yankees. Michael Conforto, Jeff McNeil, and Jonathan Villar. Those guys were the victims. But folks, at the end of the day, it's not very common at all. It's really not. So Blade Tidwell, very impressive. The Mets offense in the last couple of days, you're seeing a philosophy there. Jose Siri, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jose. He was my wild card, a value guy on the offensive side. I like that signing. The guy is a defensive whiz. Plus, he's showing his power in spring training. All right, so with all eyes on top pitching prospect Brandon Sproat, it's really easy to forget that the Mets have other good young pitchers. And Blade Tidwell is a guy that I've been very high on in the last couple of seasons. In fact, I was upset we didn't really get to see him last year, but you know what? Blade Tidwell, he's a second-round draft pick out of 2022, and he's 6'4". The guy in the immaculate inning that he threw, he had 5 strikeouts and he topped out at 99 miles per hour. So the guy's got velocity. Very impressive inning from Tidwell. He was excited. The inning that he pitched, the immaculate inning, he faced big leaguers. And that's what you like to see. You like him to face big league talent. Josh Lowe, Eloy Jimenez, Jose Caballero on 9 pitchers in the second inning. Tidwell didn't even realize he had done this until he got back to the dugout. So, the guy was so damn locked in. And that's what you like to see. The attack philosophy last year was such a mess with the walks. Folks, I remember looking at the stats, and the only team that was worst at walking runners was the Chicago White Sox. So being able to attack the strike zone, and that's what you see so common early on with the Mets philosophy, is throw strikes, throw strikes, throw strikes. Tidwell goes, I thought it was going to be fun and going to be a challenge, and it ended up being both, he said after the game. He needed just 16 pitches over the 2 innings of work. Tidwell showed pinpoint accuracy as well by throwing 16 strikes on the afternoon. Even more impressive is that the 20-year-old threw all 5 of his pitches. And this is important, folks. The 4-seamer, the 2-seamer, the changeup, the sweeper, and the gyro slider on Saturday, meaning he had his entire arsenal working for him. Tidwell recently ditched 4 of his pitch grips to go down from 9 to 5 in an attempt to command his stuff better. I'm telling you, 9 pitch grips, that is a damn lot of pitch grips. So whoever was working with him, I think that's very smart, very wise. You might as well perfect your 5 pitch grips, and 5 is a pretty good arsenal. So Tidwell goes, it's easier to control, he said. It's like the saying, it's better to have 5 mastered pitches than it would to have 9 average pitches. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I really do. The right-hander also credited his performance to his body moving a little faster now than it was maybe last year at this time, and said when everything is synced up, it feels like Saturday is how he would like to feel, throughout the season. All right. So Tidwell was ranked number 9 on Joe DeMayo's top 30 prospect list. Tidwell spent last season in AA and AAA. He finished with a 4.86 ERA across 122 innings. Not so impressive. But there was a breakdown. He did a lot better in AA than he did AAA. So coming into camp this year, Tidwell is really trying to do his best to focus on his command and, again, focus on mastering those 5 pitches. And again, Tidwell went on to say, I feel like I can stack up with the best of them. If I'm commanding the ball, and that's what I've been trying to work on day in and day out. His ultimate goal of course, is to make the big leagues. Like Christian Scott did before him last year, and what Sproat and several other pitching prospects are trying to do this year, the blueprint for a major league call-up. And if Tidwell continues having outings like the one he had on Saturday, his number will be called sooner rather than later. Well, folks, what you really like to see, and like I mentioned early on in the video is so much success from some of these pitchers that you really kind of might be counting on, like Dom Hamel, Jose Budo, Brandon Sproat, Max Kranick. The list really is going on, and I really like the eye-opening approach from these pitchers. You see, there's a clear philosophy in the pitching staff, and there's a clear philosophy with the hitters as well, and I really do like to see that. My big thing starting last year is we had a really good base. Our owner, Steve Cohen's passionate, rich, all these great things. Instilling David Stearns. Again, a lot of people, I hear it all this time in the comments, and I see it, and I respect the opinion about, a dereliction of duty, about having this core of pitchers. But folks, think about this. Some of the best teams in the past, or best pitchers, or staffs in the past, have been staffs that have been accumulated or assessed like this. The Tampa Bay Rays pitching staff, they never, ever spend a pretty penny on their pitchers. In fact, folks, for that matter, the Rays never spend a lot of money on their entire team. Right? In fact, the Mets pitching right now, the amount they're paying on their starting rotation, it's more money than the Rays paid when the Rays won 99 games in 2023, and I believe they won 100 games a few years before that. So the Rays have always been very good at, formulating a plan and a strategy to pitch and be productive with their pitchers. The Mets are implementing that same strategy. They are spending not wisely, but they are spending money on their offensive players, and they are spending wisely on their pitching talent. Now you have a whole slew of pitchers that can potentially step up to fill the gap when Sean Manaea and Montas are out right now. And I like to see it. I like to see the competition. Obviously, you got McGill, you got those few guys, Griffin Canning, and you got Blackburn. You have those guys, but there are these other guys stepping up. Again, Dom Hamel stepping up, Blade Tidwell stepping up, Brandon Sproat stepping up. Between 7, 8 guys throwing Ureno, who we just acquired the other day. I actually like that, folks. I like the fact that we actually have a couple rotational spots to see what these guys can do. In fact, I like that now. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And with this overall pitching strategy that the Mets have, if it doesn't work out and you see a guy is failing in the first 2 innings, yank him. You know, if a guy gave up 3 runs, 2 runs, you yank him, and you already know that you have the offense to pick it up. So I don't think the Mets are going to be scared. They're going to be reluctant. I think they're going to rely on the fact that they have a powerhouse. They have a powerhouse. Today, they scored 10 runs. Yesterday, they scored 7 runs. I know it's early in spring training. On Friday, they implemented their starting day lineup just about. I know Alvarez wasn't in there, but Luis Torrens, I mean, this guy is already starting off hot. He's got a good approach at the plate, taking the pitches to right field. And against the pitcher on Friday, it was that, the guy had a very slow curveball. So, what do? If a guy's throwing the curveball, you don't try to yank it, pull it, you go with the pitch. And he went the other way. Pete Alonso, same approach. I like the fact that Pete Alonso, notice I said in the beginning of this season, how is Alonso going to succeed? First of all, you got to be mentally strong, number one. Number two, you got to be disciplined. And number three, you use the whole field. Pete Alonso is one of, he's a guy that has a rare gift. He doesn't need to swing like, put everything into his swing to hit a home run. He just really doesn't. And how in Pete Alonso, seeing Juan Soto's approach in front of him is going to be damn monumental. Juan Soto's approach and attitude, you see it catching on throughout the whole lineup. Everybody's taking pitches. Everybody has that same very, very disciplined approach. And I love to see it. The home run on Friday was phenomenal. Juan Soto, again, masterful at the plate. Masterful. In his first at bat, he took a very non-Juan Soto-like swing on a slow curveball. Kind of fooled him. Very next pitch, I noticed the guy choked up. He choked about this much on the bat. What does that do? Well, it gives him more bat control. And furthermore, I saw other players in the lineup choking up. Brandon Nimmo, 2 batters later. If you want to go watch that game on Friday, he was choking up as the number 4 hitter, and Brandon Nimmo battled back in his first at bat, and he walked. So I like the approach. I like the fact that people are looking to Juan Soto, what he is doing, and really trying to use a similar strategy. And who not to imitate or copy than one of the most elite hitters in all of baseball, and he's in the middle of your lineup. This is going to be motivating to guys have an ego. Guys are competitive at this level. Pete Alonso is going to be better. Lindor, I feel, is going to be better. Everybody's going to be better. And it's because Juan Soto, I believe, is going to be motivating this team. All right. And then also to get back to what I was saying, Juan Soto's home run in the 4th inning was a thing of beauty, folks. A thing of beauty. Juan Soto hits a ball, right field line, foul ball, right on it. Again, nods at the pitcher. I mean, this is almost Babe Ruth-like. It's almost like him pointing out to center field, right field, and hitting a bomb. Those legendary stories. So next pitch, after he pulls the ball foul, he literally, outside part of the plate, he takes like an inside-out hit. It looks like it's a pop-up to left field, and this thing is carrying, gone. Another bomb to left center field. And I said, this is, the type of hit that was. 99.9% of the people who hit that ball the opposite way, it would have been a pop-up. Juan Soto seems to put a lot of topspin on the ball, under the ball. According to Ron Darling, he gave that type of analysis, but you see it, the ball just carries for this guy. It really carries, and it is, again, a thing of beauty. I like what he brings to the lineup. In fact, scratch that. I love what he brings to the lineup. How could you not? So I'm super excited. I'm super excited by the young kids. Folks, let me know what you think. How have you been feeling about these young kids, our pitchers right now? And are you less worried about David Stearns possibly, not, getting that big fish right now? I mean, Anthony DiComo kind of said the exact thing I've been saying. My last video, the pitching strategy, I said, okay, I get it. So if you want to check out my last video, Go check it out, because then the next day I listened to Anthony DiComo. I'm not saying he copied me. In fact, I actually follow Anthony DiComo a lot. We have similar philosophies, but he said exactly the same thing I said my day before. So, I like the fact that we are on the same page. And I think it is going to be well known what the heck David Stearns is doing. I think it's actually kind of genius right now. Why pay a lot of money in prospects and in dollar values, especially since the Mets are over that Steve Cohen tax, when you may already have some viable talent in the minors right now? Why? Why give up the talent? And in all these packages that I hear for a guy like Dylan Cease, it starts with Brandon Sproat. It starts with Blade Tidwell. Well, if Blade Tidwell can give you 6 viable years and you don't have to give up a Jet Williams and other prospects on top of that for a guy as a 1-year rental and a guy that you'd have to pay $200 million next year, why the hell would you make a trade like that? In fact, it would be stupid. So you see what these guys are, and then you see what you need by the deadline or before the deadline, and you see what the market is. So I like the strategy. And then also, Urena, $2 million. The guy could be a reliever. The guy could be a starter. The guy's a ground ball pitcher. The guy's got a couple decent pitches. The guy had a good season last year. And I said 33 pitching appearances, only 2 starts or only 2 appearances, he gave more than 3 runs. So he was a guy that kept the team in the game. And I know he didn't have the greatest career, but that's why you give him $2 million, and that's why he's not making a lot of money. So there's a reason why you gave him $2 million, because of the career. But if you're going to give him $2 million, it's good that he's coming off of one of his best years in his career. Sometimes these guys figure it out later in their career. And it's funny how the Tampa Bay Rays, the Braves, the teams with the top pitchers, top pitching, routinely. These are the teams that discover, when these guys turn 31, 32, they go to these teams and now they're elite, And I like Phil Maton. He was one of the guys, that came back to us, and he was good. So the Mets, I think, are going to be that team that maximizes talent, that maximizes the pitching repertoire, puts you in the lab. All right, this guy shouldn't be throwing the sinker as much, or shouldn't be throwing the slider as much, or we can get a better changeup out of him. I think the Mets pitching lab is going to be extremely key. It's extremely, proprietary to what the Mets do, and I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. Just like last year when I heard the Mets are going to be bad, the Mets haven't done enough, and the Mets came 2 games short of the World Series. And guys like Michael Kay who say, oh, well, the Mets have a tougher road. Folks, do you know the Mets, how hard the Mets schedule was in September and late August? They were playing a playoff team after playoff team after playoff team. And everybody, and I said the Mets were going to make the playoffs. I said wholeheartedly the Mets were going to make the playoffs. And everybody who challenged me, I said, you know what? The Mets, if I feel they're going to make the playoffs. And once they make the playoffs, they're going to be better off because they will have been battle tested, because they have been playing high-level team after high-level team. Juxtaposed that with the Yankees, the only time they play a high-level team is in the World Series, and they didn't look too good at all. Now, the New York Mets, they're going to be ready for the Dodgers because they're going to be playing upper echelon talent after upper echelon talent. The Braves are going to be good. The Phillies are going to be good. They play in the Mets division. I like it. I like it. I like it. But, folks, those teams have to prove to us that they can compete, because right now, we're top dogs. We're top dogs. We went further than those 2 teams last year. So in the past, I gave those 2 teams reverence because they traditionally went further than us. But as of late, what have you done for me lately? The New York Mets have been better. So we got to see, but I will continue to be super, super excited. I hope you're excited. March 27th can't come soon enough. Opening day. Let's go. And if you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, let's go. Let's go. We'd love to have you. All right, folks. Thank you. As always, drop your comments. What do you think? And the main topic is going to be about the pitching staff. Do you think we have, and I know there are some who have always been on board, but let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. All right, have a great day, folks.